Final Destination franchise is known for its memorable opening accidents. So today I'm going to stop and rank all 6 Final Destination opening accidents from the worst to the best. Hi, my name is Sean, and I started this channel because I was driving everyone around me crazy talking about movies way too much. If you can relate, you might be in the right place, and consider clicking that subscribe button. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comments section. Share your ranking of the Final Destination cold openings. My list is not the right list, it's just my list, and I would love to see yours. And let's get started. In last, the Speedway from the Final Destination. Is it fun to watch people get squished and splashed and their guts spray out and get impaled? If you like carnage candy, sure, but that's really all this has to offer. As a sequence, the only kind of fear it taps into is if you're at a race, maybe a car will drive into the crowds and kill you, which I suppose is a fear, but a pretty minor one, and there's not much else you can do with that. So when you get to this sequence, all it is a bunch of caveman violence. Car land on people. Wall of concrete fall on people. Man get impaled. Woman get impaled. Thing fly through air. Go through man's face. It's all just the same squish, impale setup on pretty much all these kills until like people get torched. But there's no wit to it. There's nothing clever about any of it. And the thing that just kind of pushes it into just utter silliness category, full-blown live-action cartoon, we're watching Itchy and Scratchy in live action with humans instead of animals, is that it goes full 3D. It's just the whole thing, it's leaning into 3D. So they get impaled, so the bar comes right at the screen in 3D. They get their guts blown out and spray at the screen in 3D. Like, the whole thing is just designed to have fire, cars, rocks, guts, rods, beams, fly at the camera in 3D. And most of us, I would say by now, 99% of us are watching it at home, not in 3D. So it's just kind of goofy looking. Beyond that, there's a lot of CGI gore and kills, people getting cut in half and they fall over, and it's that very CGI, like, oh, come on now. Just, it doesn't look great. So all it has to offer is pure schlock value of squished person, gut fly out, cut in half, that stuff. Number 5, the plane crash from Final Destination. Now, to state the obvious, this is the original accident, therefore it is inherently iconic. It kicked everything off. And it does tap into that fear that most people have when they're on a plane and there's a little bit of turbulence, things start to shake a little bit, the lights kind of flicker at some point in time, something that just makes you go, I'm in a tube in the sky and I am completely vulnerable to whatever happens at this. Like, it taps into that. But at the end of the day, this is by far the least sensational of the accidents. That because the opening of this was so like, oh, that was cool, the other movies followed it up by being like, all right, how do we take that to the next level? How can we like go bigger, more extravagant, more violent, gorier? All of the other openings just take it so much further because this one worked. And I think for that reason, inherently, it's the starting point. It's the one that was like, oh, that was cool. Now let's see what we can do. And you watch all the other ones and they have more entertainment value just because they're wilder, they're crazier, everything like that. That's why this one is here. If the plane accident had been in the 5th movie, they would have found a way to make it as sensational as the other ones, but it wasn't. The others got to build on the foundation of this film. Number 4, The Bridge, Final Destination 5. And I've kind of 2 lines of thoughts on this one. The first line of thought is when the sequence begins, the first thing that happens is someone falls down and they get impaled and something shoots right at the camera, doing those gimmicks. I'm assuming it was a 3D movie when it came out, and we're doing this, shooting stuff at the camera to go into 3D. And I'm like, more goofy 3D gimmicks, and a lot of it just kind of is that over-the-top, just unrelatable feel to it because it's so big, it's so extravagant. But the thing that really kind of works for it is of all of our opening sequences, save for, I guess, Bloodlines, the most recent one, this is the one where the characters actually have some ability to make choices in the sequence to affect what's happening, what order it happens in, and they are able to try and avoid it. They have some agency in the sequence, whereas the first four of them, people are just utter victims of this situation that they're in. There's no way to avoid it, and then they die horrible deaths. When you get to this one, from the get-go, we got to get out of here, and they start running, and they're desperately trying to escape, running on things, and because that, it just makes for, I don't know, more of an action sequence, not just destruction and death. That counterbalances the cartoonish nature of a lot of it, the 3D gimmicks, the schlock value, all of that stuff. And that kind of elevated it up a spot for me because, like, I don't have an inherent fear of being on a bridge and it collapsing. Like, I've never felt that, and even the way that it kind of plays out where it is so extravagant, that's less interesting to me. But because of kind of the built-in escape, that's what worked better. In third place, the roller coaster Final Destination 3. And the thing that works about this one is it taps into the reality of roller coasters, which is we're inherently doing something that would be incredibly deadly if not for this Uber harness that locks down. And every time you get in a roller coaster, you're like double checking, is this thing working? Is this actually in place? And they have an employee that walks and like pushes on it. No, I got to push it a little tighter because what we're about to do, humans are not supposed to do this. We're not supposed to move it that fast at these turns and turn upside down. It's extraordinarily dangerous, except we've developed this harness. So what if you're riding and something snapped the hydraulic and all the harness is shot straight up and you're in the middle of, That's the fear. That's the built-in fear of a roller coaster. And then everything else starts to spiral out of control, and it plays out that scenario that is exactly the reason that these things are thrilling. The fear that we're avoiding. Now the fear is happening. It's a reality. It might have gotten a little bit higher, but once again, it gets a little bit too wacky as it kind of goes along, and it starts having like people holding onto the sides for a while, and they let go, and their friend catches them, and then like stuff that it's like, okay, like no, this is not what would be able to happen in this insane scenario of holding on for your dear life. You're not catching your friend and dangling onto the side of this flipping roller coaster. So it does a few things that just go too far in the absurdity of it. Maybe it plays out too long in trying to find all the things that can happen. But the inherent built-in starting point of it is a really good anxiety-inducing setup. Our runner-up, The Penny in the Fancy Building from Bloodlines. And when I saw the trailers for this movie, I said in my trailer reaction that I was nervous that we're getting a little bit too extravagant with the scenario. And I kind of praised the picnic, the backyard barbecue sequence for being grounded. And then I was like, I don't know if this is going to get too extravagant with a building and explosions and stuff like that. But what won me over is the actual storytelling, the way the sequence played out in the movie. All of kind of my concerns about it being too extravagant were eased because they found the way to walk me into it that made me buy into the scenario, which is to say, we're following someone that's a little bit anxious about the building. We ride in the elevator and the doors don't close quite right. And then we learn that they finished a little bit ahead of schedule. And there's just a series of things where you go, this place is not as sound as it should be. And we go through this whole sequence where we slowly, over a period of 10 minutes, introduce all of these little vulnerabilities. And something happens that exploits the vulnerability. And then there's that freaking stupid kid throwing pennies off the roof of this thing. You're like, what are you doing, you insane child? You could kill someone if it just hits someone, let alone if death had a plan for that day in these people. And so it sets up all the little things that in this context, because you are in this quite literally elevated building, if they play out, it's catastrophic. And then because we were invested in the characters and it's just like, what if this is the perfect date that starts turning awful? We can't get a table and things go chaotic, but it's also supposed to be the perfect day because one person is proposing, one person is pregnant, and everything wonderful turns into an utter nightmare so quickly on so many different levels. It has the element of part 5 of people desperately trying to survive, and the ways that this plays out of elevator, running around the building, stairs, and seeing how this structure, one thing implodes and it starts to exploit all the other vulnerabilities, and so there's no way to get out of there. Just everyone's going to die. They slowly die despite their desperate attempts at survival. And so for me, like, that's like what I feel like this movie just did well, is finding a way to continue to get bigger and more extravagant, but finding the anchors to bring it back to reality and have real storytelling to it and have characters at the center of it. But coming in at number 1, I've got to go with the log truck from Final Destination 2. And this one, I think for anyone my age, it's pretty obvious why this one would be number 2. It created a generational anxiety that all of us have this shared thing that anytime we drive behind a log truck, we are reminded of this movie in a way that every time I get on a plane, I don't think of Final Destination. Every time I ride a roller coaster, I don't think of Final Destination 3. Every time I'm driving on a bridge, I don't think of Final Destination 5. I took my son to the Speedway, and it didn't cross my mind to think about the Final Destination. But for now over 20 years, if I see a log truck and my wife is there, it's a race to see who makes a Final Destination reference. When you do something so iconic that an entire generation remembers it and references it every single time they see a type of truck, you win. You've done it. You're the winner. So to what I kind of talked about with part 1, that it was kind of like less sensational. It was shorter, less extravagant. And you get into this one and immediately you have the log truck followed by the pile-up, followed by all the chaos. And as much as you have the guy getting hit by a log and motorcycles falling over, cars crashing into each other, but then it adds in all the other little things that happen. It's not just the log truck. You're driving, or there's another car in the middle of this that a water bottle rolls underneath the brake. And so they can't stop in the moment. Once again, those little anxieties, the little realities, things that actually happen. And I'll be driving and the water bottle rolling like, kids, who put the water bottle? Like, it's going to get us killed. And they put that into the movie. And then when you think it's over, you think, oh, someone survived. And then it just keeps going just a little bit more. And everyone ends up getting some sort of horrible, horrible fate in this little tale that we are following. And that, to me, is why this one's the best. It's iconic, it cranks up the scope, size of the carnage, and it taps into multiple little anxiety-inducing little moments. That's when I think of a great Final Destination opening. That's what I want. That's what I got. So it comes in at number 1. If you enjoyed this video, you can check out my ranking of all the Final Destination movies right over there. You can check out my other horror rankings right over there. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye-bye.